Hello and welcome to another episode of the Poverty Franchise Podcast. My name is PJ and today we're going to go over the happenings in the NFL on Week 14. As usual, we'll jump right into the winners and losers of the score, just looking over the scoreboard. On Thursday Night Football, another not-so-great game in all honesty. The Rams, led by Baker Mayfield, off of his couch, beat the Raiders 17-16. Well, not directly off his couch. He was with the Panthers, just got cut. Went on a couple days, and this is like a short notice UFC win. So, good win for the Rams. Good for Baker Mayfield. Bills beat the Jets 20-12. Mike White got absolutely cut in half. If y'all didn't see that. Bengals beat the Browns 23-10. You know, Deshaun Watson's not having that much fun. Cowboys escaped the Texans 27-23. Lions beat the Vikings 34-23. The Lions are creeping right back into this playoff picture. I'd say the Vikings, you know, they're semi-fraudulent right now. They're semi-fraudulent. Eagles take care of the Giants 48-22, and the Giants are really slumping. Jags take care of the Titans 36-22. In a game, Derrick Henry rushed for over 100 yards in. Ravens beat the Steelers 16-14. I think that's mainly to thank to the ineptitude of the Steelers offense and Kenny Pickett going out early. Chiefs beat the Broncos 34-28. Chef Russ cooked, but it was way too late in the game. Chiefs jumped out to a big lead. It can never claw themselves out of it. Fire Nathaniel Hackett. Seahawks are also slumping. Panthers beat them 30-24. Steve Wilkes probably deserves a second year there with an offense that is somewhat competent. The 49ers with Brock Purdy take care of business, just steamroll the Buccaneers 35-7. Chargers beat the Dolphins 23-17. Justin Herbert is in fact better than Tua Tagovailoa. I don't think anyone other than Emmanuel Acho argued that though. And the Patriots beat the Cardinals 27-13. And I'll jump right into the first story I want to really talk about, which is Kyler Murray's out for the year, torn ACL. He's already missed a little bit of time this year with the hamstring issue. Probably came back from that too soon, and that could have led to the ACL injury. Can't really say for sure. He was still going for 2,300 yards, 14 TDs, 7 interceptions in the air, and on the ground he was rushing. He rushed for 418 yards, 3 TDs. This can be argued as a down year for Kyler Murray. It was really a down year for the Cardinals organization as a whole. Hopefully he's back by training camp. Doesn't miss any time next year. Hope he comes back the same player. You never really know. Even with medical science has come so far, you never really know how that comes back, for how players come back from it. Hopefully he comes back to Cliff Kingsbury not having a job, and he'll hopefully have a better situation going forward. The next one I really want to talk about is the Raiders and Rams. The Raiders look like they were on a better trajectory. The Rams right now are just fighting for the Lions to have a worse draft pick. And, Baker Mayfield's probably going to be their starting quarterback the rest of the year. That's kind of a no-brainer. He's a bit better than, someone like John Wolford, for example. But yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield really has another chance, another lease. He's probably not going to end up staying with the Rams, if not also Matt Stafford retires or something. Everyone retires. He's kind of the best option they have. I can definitely see Baker Mayfield going somewhere like probably the Giants are a team that's close to winning. Again, just Daniel Jones might be the thing holding them back. He's not going back to Carolina. He's probably not going to Seattle with the way Geno Smith is playing. But a big win for the Rams. Cam Akers also had a semi-decent game. And, I mean, for his standards, probably not the greatest game ever. But, here's 42 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty good for this year's Cam Akers. So, yeah. Deshaun Watson drops his first game back. His first game, he's back. Not his first game back. First loss since the suspension. Another pedestrian game, 26 of 42, 276, 1 TD, 1 interception. Improvement of last week, shook off a bit of the rust, but I'm still glad he's losing. So, that is all I'm happy about. And the Bengals keep rolling. The Cowboys escape the Texans. This probably was the very definition of a trap game. It was at home. The Texans were 110-1 coming into it. But this is a team that had nothing really to lose, so they're going to play as hard as they can. Davis Mills was back in the lineup. Jeff Driscoll got a little run in, so those are your quarterbacks you were speaking of. Amari Rodgers had a good game. 4 catches, 57 yards, and a TD. Claimed from the Packers after being cut from his special team woes. And Dameon Pierce had 22 attempts, 78 yards, and a TD. So, Dak Prescott didn't have the best game. The Cowboys' defense didn't really have a best game, but they showed up at the end of the day and got out with the win. And sometimes that's all you can really ask for when it comes to football. And hey, they still won, and that's all you can really say about that. Now, the one we want to look at is now Jared Goff has pretty much saved his career as a starter in the National Football League in these past few games, because Jared Goff and Dan Campbell saved his job, I think. I think they've both done enough. Jared Goff's the QB going into next year, which means the Lions can focus on shoring up the defense, maybe with an interior an interior pass rusher, or an off-ball linebacker opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, or a guard. Because Jameson Williams is, in fact, a good wide receiver. He had a good game. He got a touchdown. He only had the 1 catch, but it was a touchdown catch. Again, your receiving core of Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chalk, Jameson Williams going into next year is great. Your running back core of Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift is great. And Jared Goff is playing inspired football. Kirk Cousins didn't have a bad game. He passed for 425 yards. But the Lions shut down the run completely, holding Dalvin Cook to only 23 yards. They did not shut down the pass whatsoever. Just Justin Jefferson, who, I'm going to just get this out the way right now, is my offensive player of the year. And I don't think everyone with 2 working brain cells offensive player of the year. 223 yards in the air, still a loss. The Lions are making a run at it. And we'll talk about that when we go over the standings. They are making a run at the playoffs right now. And I think they might make it. Jalen Hurts has taken the lead in the MVP race after a very good performance against the New York Giants. Miles Sanders is playing inspired football again. Everyone on the Eagles side is playing inspired football. This team is not fraudulent at all. 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, 77 rushing yards on the ground, another TD. Miles Sanders had 144 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Boston Scott had a touchdown. A.J. Brown had a touchdown. Devontae Smith had a touchdown. Again, once they get, oh my God, it's not Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert back, they're gonna be really, really cooking. And this one probably isn't really on Daniel Jones. This one's probably more on the Giants defense as a whole. Really slowed down as a unit from the beginning of the year. From the beginning of the year, they look kind of on lockdown. Again, definitely slowed down. Dexter Lawrence is still having a great year in the interior with 6 sacks, 25 total tackles, 1 forced fumble on the year. One of your probably going to be a first-time Pro Bowler, one of your better interior linemen in the league. Then Thibodeau, who's missed a little bit of time this year as well. 11 games. He only has 2 sacks. It is his rookie year. It's a fair bit disappointing that he only has the 2 sacks. He didn't record a single statistic against the Eagles. But I think he'll come into his own. He was hurt coming to the pre-draft process. Give it a year, then we'll make a more fair evaluation, I'll say. But on to the Eagles. They're still probably the best team in the league. Them and the Bills are probably my still 2 best teams in the league. Then the last game I really want to focus on, well, second to last game I want to look at the Buccaneers 49ers before we move on, is the Jaguars and Titans. Trevor Lawrence is also playing inspired football this year. And Ryan Tannehill might be the thing holding back the Titans. That, the lack of receivers and a semi-mediocre defense. Trevor Lawrence passed for 3 touchdowns, 368 yards, and added a TD on the ground. Even with a poor night from ETN, Evan Ingram had a 162-yard day at tight end, which proves when he can catch the ball, and 2 touchdowns. What proves is when he can catch the ball, he's a great tight end talent. Zay Jones had a good game. Christian Kirk had a good game. Marvin Jones had a good game. The offense is there. Really, what they're going to need is consistency, which is going to come from coaching, and some defensive consistency as well, led by the other Josh Allen. Tannehill did not have a bad game. Hell, Derrick Henry didn't have a bad game. It came from the fact that the Titans could not stop the Jaguars' high-powered offense. So that's really what it comes down to. Just to check in on the Titans defense, we're going to take a look at just their leader, the other Josh Allen. Of course I clicked the wrong Josh Allen on Pro Football Focus because one was drafted the year after the other. 4 sacks on the year. Again, not the best year, one could say. But again, he's not being asked to do as much as he was like his rookie year and the years thereafter after that. So, because again, the team's much better coached. You have contributors in other places. So again, your sack totals are really going to fluctuate depending on how they can focus. Again, you have Trayvon Walker on the other side. You have Fuasai Luakon coming from the Falcons, who's helping out on the inside. And checking on Trayvon Walker as well. For the number 1 overall pick, 3.5 sacks and 1 forced fumble is not the greatest first year you can ask for. However, yeah, only 10 hurries on the year, 5 QB knockdowns. Not the greatest, but again, we'll check back in a year, see how it is. Looking on to looking on to the standings for next week. The standings going into next week. Before we get into those, a couple other things. T.Y. Hilton gets signed by the Cowboys since Odell's rehabilitation wasn't ready yet. That should add a little verticality to their offense. It's another piece. Well, is that a piece that gets them over the hump? You really won't know until the playoffs. Veteran signings like that don't really pay off until the playoffs. But it's also good just to have the depth there, have them signed. You never know what can happen. You'd rather have them there than not have them and then some other team picks them up. So, looking at it, the AFC East, the Bills are a couple games clear now at 10-3. Dolphins second, 8-5. Patriots 7-6. Jets 7-6, falling out of that that third wild card spot via the tiebreaker with New England. The AFC North still tied. Baltimore and Cincinnati are both 9-4. One of those teams is going to occupy that other wild cards, the first or second wild card spot. The Browns and Steelers are both 5-8. They're both pretty much out of it. Really, it was kind of a punted year for the Browns. They didn't come into Deshaun Watson being unsuspended about 500 or one game over 500, and the Steelers are just kind of rebuilding. They're in fact Mike Tomlin will not get that winning season or the non-losing season, that is. The AFC South, Titans are 7-6. The Jags are 5-8. Colts 4-8-1. Texans 1-11-1. The Jags could get into the playoffs with a miracle. I mean, if they went out and the Titans slipped, they could win the division and sneak into the playoffs that way. Or even if the Chargers slip up and the Patriots or Jets are slipping up in any way and they win out, and let's say they could maybe sneak into the wild card too. Then the AFC West, Chiefs 10-3, Chargers 7-6, Rams 5-8, Broncos third worst team in the country, if not the second worst team, 3-10. Again, this is just a massive disappointment for the Broncos. They just didn't show up this year, and this is an example of why football is a complete team game, because their defense is top 5 in terms of points allowed. They're on the field a hell of a lot more than almost every other of the top defensive units, and they're still keeping teams that low. It shows how good they are. It shows how good the defensive coordinator for the Broncos is, which no, I don't know his name. We're going to figure that out. Ejiro Evero. He's good. He was one of the defensive assistants for the Rams for a few years, and defensive assistant for the Niners under Harbaugh. Head coach that man. Honestly, just fire Hackett and bring him up. Oh, you need offense, so head coach him somewhere else with a good offense already. NFC East, Eagles 12-1, Cowboys 10-3, Washington Commanders 7-5-1, Giants 7-5-1. The whole division's in the playoffs right now, and their only real threat from other divisions. Really, you have the Lions screaming back at 6-7. The Packers still could make a little noise, and the Seahawks, and then maybe the Panthers, Falcons, and Buccaneers, depending on how that division goes around, who wins, how they all made up there. But I think the Giants are going to fall off the playoff picture. I think they're just slumping at the worst time possible down the stretch. The Commanders are surging at their best possible time. I think the Giants spot will end up either going to the Seahawks or the Lions. The Seahawks are also flailing at the worst possible time in the season. And the Lions are surging at the best possible time. So that last wild card spot is either going to be Giants if they can correct the course, Seahawks if they correct the course, or the Lions if they continue on. I still think the Buccaneers will win the NFC South, even though they're under 500. The Panthers with Steve Wilkes are playing great ball. I don't think they're playing a good enough ball to make it out of that division, even at 5-8. We can take a look at the remaining schedule for the Panthers and see how they can, if there is a road out. So the next 4 weeks, they got the Steelers, the Surging Lions, the Buccaneers, and the Saints. These are all tough games. The Steelers one's very winnable. I'd say the Lions in Carolina is a winnable game, but not with how the Lions are playing. The Buccaneers in Tampa, I don't think they can win that. And the Saints in New Orleans, that is also a winnable game. Best case scenario in the last 4 weeks, they go 3-1. That leaves them 8-9 on the year. So they would, and I'm assuming they lose to Tampa Bay, which pretty much means Tampa Bay would have to go. Let's see. Did they lose the first game to the Panthers? They did. Pretty much means Tampa Bay would have to reciprocate and go 1-3. Which, with Kyler Murray going down to the Cardinals, they're probably losing the Bengals next week, even if it's at home. I don't think they're going to lose to Colt McCoy on the road. I still think they beat the Panthers at home, and they probably beat the Falcons with a young Desmond Ridder really giving a whirl with the offense with Mariota being shut down. I also forgot to mention Mariota got shut down for the year with a knee injury. It's air quotes for they want to try the young guy. So I believe that the Falcons will just be kind of punting the year as well, which isn't a bad thing for them at all. Now looking at Detroit's schedule, they're 6-7, 4 games left. They have the Jets and the Panthers on the road. Those are both very winnable games. I think with the way they're playing and the way they're just kind of cutting apart defenses right now, I think the Jets are going to be their hardest time. They should put up big points against the Panthers. Then it's 2 divisional matchups. You got the Chicago Bears in Detroit and the Packers in Lambeau. I think they'll also probably end up going 3-1, which leaves them 9-8. Which very well leaves them in the playoff picture. The last schedule I would really like to look at, well, second to last, I would say, is the Seahawks and the Commanders. Starting with the Commanders, the last 4 games: Giants, Niners, Browns, Cowboys. Giants at home, I think they win. I think they finish out the season 3-1. I think they're going to end up being 10-6-1 on the year. I think they're going to drop the game in San Francisco. I think they can beat the Browns at home. I don't think the Browns are that exceptionally good of a football team, especially the way the Commanders' defense has been playing as of late. And I think with the Cowboys will be safely in the playoffs by then. They can't really play for much. They might rest guys. And then since the Commanders have everything to play for, you're still going against a pretty formidable lineup. You're still going to be, going against like Cooper Rush, maybe a couple series of Dak Prescott. Who knows? And the last one I'd like to look at is the Seahawks. Seahawks are kind of slumping as of late. I mean, they did beat the Rams, but it's, one of their last 4. They got the Niners at home, at the Chiefs, Jets, Rams. This is looking like 2-2 to me. I think they beat the Jets and the Rams. I don't think they beat the Niners. Well, they might beat. There's a possibility they can go 3-1 or 1-3 as well. But I think they'll lose to the Niners. They'll lose to the Chiefs. They'll beat the Jets, beat the Rams. That means they're coming off 3 straight losses and going into the Jets, which just is killing their momentum. And if they're 2-2, they will also finish at 9-8, which puts them in a tie. Which would basically, if the Lions go 9-8 as well, puts them in a tie. And if I'm not mistaken, well, if they put them in that tie, they have the tiebreaker against the Seahawks, or the Seahawks have the tiebreaker against the Lions, so the Lions would be out. That kind of does it for the playoff happenings. I just want to touch on Josh Jefferson again. He has 99 catches and 1,500 yards and 6 touchdowns. OPOY. Jalen Hurts is probably MVP this year. Um, 22 touchdown passes, only 3 interceptions. He's averaging 8 yards an attempt, 12 yards a completion, and he's also tacked on the ground 686 yards and 10 more rushing touchdowns. So yeah, he's that guy. He's that guy. And that is all. Looking into next week, Week 15's games, who will be the winning and losing? Thursday night is 49ers Seahawks. I'm probably going to go Niners. Colts play the Vikings on Saturday morning. I'll go Vikings. Ravens play the Browns. Probably Browns with how weak the Ravens. Again, they barely snuck out, and Tyler Huntley might be out for next week, which leaves them with, oh, holy hell, I forgot his name. Anthony Walker, I think. Anthony Brown. Played his college ball at Boston College in Oregon. It's his rookie year. Played his first game. He passed for 16 yards and five attempts. 3 completions last week. Just going to take a quick look at his college stats real quick. Because honestly, I don't know much about Mr. Anthony Brown. So he started his first 3 years at Boston College. Not so great teams. Basically got his job taken by Phil Jakovich at one point, who, again, I still think might be a good NFL player if all goes well. And then 2021 with the Oregon Ducks, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year, 2,900 passing yards, and add another 658 and 9 on the ground. So he's, again, this is not Lamar Jackson at home anymore. That's Tyler Huntley. This is Lamar Jackson in the attic. Like, this is not looking good. But hey, hopefully he's back next week too. He has a possibility of being back, but you better hope it's shit. If it's Tyler Huntley, I would actually give it to the Ravens, but I don't think you're going to beat the Browns, the third string quarterback. They're not that garbage. Dolphins Browns, I'm gonna go. Or Dolphins Bills, apologies. In Buffalo, with how the Dolphins complained about the heaters in 55-degree LA, or brought the heaters. Bills are winning that game. That is all. Steelers Panthers, I will go Panthers. They are the hotter hand. And Kenny Pickett will probably be out with the concussion. They're starting Mitch Trubisky, who, God, I was wrong about at the beginning of the year. I really thought he can recover. Eagles, Bears. As sad as this is, the Bears are on a bye. Eagles creaming us. That actually is going to be a wash. Chiefs, Texans, Chiefs, Cowboys, Jags. With how the Cowboys played against the mediocre Texans, they're going to come into this game with a fire, but they're playing in Jacksonville, so I'm going to go Jacksonville. Falcons, Saints, I'll go Saints. Lions, Jets, I will go Lions. Commanders will beat the Giants at home. Broncos will beat the ailing Cardinals at home. Russell Wilson's also hurt. Cardinals will win. Russell Wilson's also out with a concussion. I completely forgot to mention that too. Titans versus Chargers, I'll go Chargers. They are the hotter hand. Buccaneers, Bengals, even on a road trip, I think they're going to do it. Patriots, Raiders, Patriots. And the Monday night game, Rams, Packers in Lambeau. I think Baker will have a good game in Lambeau, but I think the Packers will win that game. And that concludes it for the Week 14 NFL Roundup. Again, as the playoff picture comes in the fold, it's going to be fun covering those playoffs. I think they're going to be the season's been a great ride. I think the playoffs will keep that ride going. There'll be more pre-draft coverage. There'll be a return to the normal random, all the sports I like roundups where I'm just going over your World Soccer League tables, the NBA, draft news, all that fun stuff once the season ends and I stop the week-by-week recaps. It's just the NFL takes up so much of my attention. I do also want to end this on kind of a downer note, sadly. Rest in peace, Mike Leach, head coach of Mississippi State. One of the preeminent personalities and coaches in college football, and kind of changed how football is played, really, with the air raid offense. Again, now it's kind of permeated all 3 levels of football: high school, college, and professional. And just the impact he's left to the game cannot be touched. He's taken from us too soon. But thankfully for us, the fans, he has a legacy in football. And again, he's one of the preeminent, I would say scholars is the right word, tacticians, play callers, playmakers, But again, his touch can be seen and will forever be seen on the sport of football as a whole. So just rest in peace, Mike Leach. But that is all I have for you today. Remember, stay hydrated. Go Bears, go Tigers. Pray for the Bulls to be better. This has been PJ on the Poverty Franchise Podcast signing out. Good luck. See ya.